Hey everyone, it's Civ Extraordinaire, and I wanted to do something interesting for this video because I like to release my videos weekly and then do like 2 or 3 scripted videos once a week. So I'm taking this video and recording it from my Discord, which I just recently created a week ago. I think this is its anniversary. It's a week old right about now. So if you want to join, you can follow the link in the description. But one of the people or guys on my Discord, I guess, just a collective term, they posted this really interesting tier list, and that got me thinking. I just wanted to go take a look at some of the other tier lists that people were looking around and creating for the Discord, and I thought it was kind of preemptive to go ahead and create a tier list. So I just wanted to analyze it since the update has only been out for like a week or 2 weeks, and I just wanted to critique it from my experiences since I have gotten the chances to play most of the new civs and some of their reworks and offer my opinion on it. And when I saw the tier list that I believe this is the Civ 6 Discord released, I was just kind of shocked because I didn't think they could release such a bad or poor tier list. I think the one this guy sent me is from like one of the Reddit users, but I guess that one's kind of worse. This one not as bad. They have some picks right, but still, some of these picks on the list, they kind of just got me to look back in shock because I was like, whoa, I want to know what you guys are smoking. Because some of these tier list picks are just horrible. So I just want to go down this list. I don't think it's suitable, like I mentioned earlier, for me to just go ahead and talk about a tier list while I'm here. So I still want to test some more of the civs out, but I thought, I might as well kill two birds with one stone, promote the Discord server, and go over a tier list and kind of give you some of my thoughts on the new civs as well as critiquing some of these placements. So you can, go ahead and join the Discord server if you want to talk about some of these placements or stay up to date on my new videos or give me suggestions. And let's just go ahead and start critiquing the tier list. So I think we should probably start off with S tier and then work our way down gradually to F tier. Actually, you know what? Let's start with F tier because there's significantly fewer civs in F tier, and then work our way up to the bigger, more popular civs, just for the climax, I guess, and the suspense. But I guess we start with F tier. We can knock off some of these more simpler civs. I guess I could agree with Gandhi, though. I think F tier is like a civ that worsens your start than like a normal vanilla civ. And after the patch, I don't think any civs do that. Though Gandhi is probably, in my opinion, the worst civ, and he leads India. He's probably the worst leader in the game. But I definitely, and I can tell you 100%, I definitely disagree with Alfonso Mvemba Nzinga, whatever you prefer to call him by. He is not F tier. There is no way he is F tier. You can just look at his abilities real quick here. But his abilities with his relics and his synergy, he is in no way near F tier. I know he got a bit of a buff. He can't found religions. That does limit his victory types. But I think calling him F tier, like basically worse than a vanilla civ with no abilities, is absolutely wrong. His relics can be very, very powerful, and I don't know if this tier list is considered with secret societies, but I'm just going to assume it's not due to some of the rankings here, like Yadviga being D tier. But this is completely incorrect, even without secret societies buffs. His great people points can be very potent even after the nerf, and the additional food production and faith from relics is also very good. I find the Imbanza is okay, but the Ngal Mbeba is also very, very potent and can be great for early domination rushes, especially due to its wood synergy with rougher terrain. So he should be at least B, maybe C plus tier. F tier is no. Same with Eleanor. I think she should be B tier, especially since she did get some buffs indirectly from the tourism changes with the recent update. So I think B tier is suitable. Maybe Eleanor could be C or D tier because she has terrible synergy, in my opinion. I know people love to disagree with me on my least favorite top 3 civs or whatever, but that's just my opinion. I think she's definitely worse than French Eleanor just due to synergy. So I think all the F tier rankings are bullshit, just to say the least. Gandhi should be D tier. F tier is like, that's no. No civ leader. I'll just tell you out from the outright or outstart. Maybe before last patch, but no civ leader currently is below like a completely bland vanilla civ. I can just tell you that right now. That is a very unfair critique, and I think it's pretty ignorant. But let's move on to D tier. Already getting some spicy and controversial takes here. But I think we should start with Poundmaker. I don't think he's suitable to be D tier. Maybe C tier. He didn't get any changes. The Make Wap is potent. We can actually look at this. But I still think it's an interesting improvement to interact with, and the production and housing can come in, to be pretty useful, especially since plain starts, like he can be prone to having, only have +1 food and +1 production, I believe. So they can be useful for kind of terraforming, though it will cost a builder charge. And by terraforming, I mean just giving tiles a lot better yields. And then his abilities are very good for claiming early on. He could even be B tier. Magnificence Catherine, I definitely disagree with. There were some changes to the chateau. I'll just look around here very quickly. With the recent patch, I believe they made it so that they can't be placed adjacent to each other. But I believe they also added gold too. So I think with her projects too, her magnificence projects or whatever they're called, the festivals, the court festivals, whatever have you, she's definitely B tier. Her chateaus and the theming with the culture and everything with that are very, very powerful. Just like +2 culture from the outstart for adjacent luxury resources is very, very good. And chateaus placements aren't too restrictive. They just come a bit too late, in my opinion. Maybe I'd consider Black Queen Catherine, however, C tier. I definitely don't consider her D tier. Same with the even base game Jadwiga with the Sukin Yiche. I'd say they're C tier. I'd also say, I guess Englanor would be okay, D tier. I disagree with Cleopatra being D tier, though. I think the Chariot Archers are probably her weakest part of the kit, but I definitely don't think, at least with Gathering Storm, I think this is factoring in Gathering Storm, their bonuses to wonder production definitely does not make them C tier. C to B tier, kind of like with French Eleanor, but definitely not D tier. Maybe Georgia could be D tier after the changes, C tier. But again, these picks are really, really rough. I don't know what the people over on the Discord were thinking. All right, let's get on to C tier. I think all of these picks are wrong. I see these are all just like, what the hell is going on here? They were like smoking some grade A crack here, because all of these picks are absolutely terrible. I don't know if the Discord server released this, but whoever released this, please seek some kind of psychological therapy, because I don't know. Maybe this guy just does not like domination civs. I see there are quite a few domination civs here. Or just they didn't have the chance to play them. But Shaka is by no means C tier. Like, what the hell are you thinking? I don't mean to lambast this person too much. I don't have any personal gripes with them. But Shaka is not C tier, especially after the recent patch. He gets science from the Ikanda, and that is very, very potent. I say potent a lot, but it is super, super strong because it gets science now for each, I believe, each building. So that can get up to like 3 or 4 science, which is equal to a good campus district. Granted, you're not getting that all immediately, but that gold helps with units, and the science also helps keep you up to date with all of those new techs, which is very, very useful and relevant. So I'd say he's at least B or A tier. Again, I haven't played with him too much, so I can't pin him down decisively. And it always depends on map settings, but I also think Genghis Khan being C tier is ridiculous. If you just look at his cavalry rushes and tactics, he is not C tier. He is definitely at least A tier. Batriu also, like, whoa. That is probably the most controversial pick of this tier list so far, maybe. Don't hold me for it. But I think she's definitely at least A tier. She had a slight nerf with the Chen. However you pronounce that in Vietnamese, my Vietnamese is terrible. I know one word, and that's banh mi. So anyway, the Chen is very powerful. It gets +2 culture, I believe, still for each adjacent district, and equal tourism to that, and then you can double those bonuses, I think. So no way is she C tier just based on that, and the defensive bonuses make her a very, very good turtling civ, along with some of the unique placement restrictions. All in all, a very good civ, and then the Voitian on top of that just makes her insane. Next, I think we have Wilhelmina. Disagree with that. She got a buff too. I think she's at least A or B tier due to Radio Oranje becoming much more relevant, though it's not like perfect. But you really go to the Dutch for Groot Rivieren and some of those district bonuses. Lady Six Sky, I think I could agree with her being C tier with the last patch, though with the Maya, at least with some of their recent changes, like the builders being granted to cities built within 6 tiles of the capital. I'd say she's probably B tier because you can micromanage a bit better with all those easy builders, and it's just a lot better in my experience. And then observatories aren't nearly as hard to get to, especially since you can chop a lot more easily with those builders and kind of plop those farms down. I think Genghis Khan could still be C tier. The Great Wall is very potent, even with Genghis Khan or Chengiz. He's not even, that's not Genghis. Okay. Kublai, whatever. His Great Walls aren't nearly as potent with, since he's not Qin Shi Huang and he doesn't focus towards builders as much. But I think with the Wonder buff, he could at least be B tier. That synergizes with the other Chinese ability, which grants stronger Eureka and Inspiration bonuses. Next, we have Canada. I think he's at least B or A tier due to the potency of the hockey rink. Because they do come a bit late, but Tundra spots aren't really that competitive. They may be slightly more competitive with the unique improvements, but I still think, at least what someone said to me in the comments, their culture, and I think maybe they even have tourism bonuses, can be pretty good. Since even here in the image, you can see just how easy it is to get those hockey rinks up, which are further boosted by entertainment districts, which are also not too competitive. Speaking of entertainment districts, we have the Scots next. I don't think Robert the Bruce is C tier. I think he's B tier. Just looking at some of his abilities, and probably the worst part of his kit is the Ranger, though this is an okay ranking, I think, for him. He does get a bit stronger later on, but you have to invest in him, kind of similar to Mansa Musa. Saladin, I disagree with the B tier ranking. I think the Madrasa is probably the best part of his kit, since it grants him very easy faith bonuses, and he also has the Mamluk, which is still potent even after its nerf, I think, in the base game. So I'm going to disagree with Saladin. I think it should be B tier. Mansa Musa should definitely be B or A tier, since he can buy out like everything. The gold is not a meme. He has insane stonk potential, and he's just very good. Chandragupta, I would say, is a solid B tier due to his early Varu rushes, and I think that just negates the crappy India start kit, since step wells are not that good. Kind of just reflecting back on what I said earlier about Gandhi. The Mapuche, okay, this is another big, dumb, low IQ, small brain choice. Whatever other meme, Redditor terminology I can fit in there. But with his recent buffs, Tokui and the Kamamul are nothing to laugh at. He's easily A tier. Just because how good the Kamamul are, not only do they get, you can build them right from the offset, but you can also get insanely easy culture. I had a stream on them. Super easy, and they have like a mountain start bias or hill start bias, and that makes for easy appeal. And then the +1 production ensures that you don't really need to build mines, and you can keep your territory very appealing. So do not sleep on the Kamamul. You will be punished just by Lotaro's insane abilities and some of his very good governor synergy. They really cleaned him up in the last patch, and I'm very happy with what the Firaxis devs did. So for the last Civ with the C tier, very big tier, along with the A and B tiers. I don't know if I'll make it through this critique. But we have Dido. I think C tier might be a fair assessment. She didn't get any changes, unfortunately. The Kothon is kind of underwhelming, at least in my experience, from what I've played. I know she's very good for domination victories. Personally, I didn't go with domination victories too much. I might be a bit of a prude, but I'm never one to be too heavy-handed with combat. So I think they grant some very good healing bonuses, so C tier might be okay. They are very fun Civ to play with, though. They have very nice government synergy, and I just love to explore the map early with them, kind of similar to Portugal, but they are going to be a bit later in the video. Next, I think we have Rough Rider Teddy. B, I think, is a fair tier to place him in. I don't play with him too much, so not many complaints about that. Next, we have Pedro. I think he could easily fit into A or B tier. Definitely the upper echelons of B tier, just because of his good rainforest bonuses. He's kind of like a tropical Russia in the way he functions, so I think he should at least be A tier, especially since he didn't receive any nerfs, and the Carnival and Copacabana are very relevant to his toolkits. Next, you have Christina, and I don't think she's B tier, especially since I've been speaking to some of the commenters on my recent rankings video with Christina. I think her open air museum is probably the best part of her kit, kind of similar to the hockey rink with Canada. In that you want to place them like everywhere in your territory, but they are only limited to one city. And her Queen's Bibliothèque is also relevant because of the early Great People points, and that helps accelerate the Civ. And then the Nobel Prize contest is always interesting and fun to play around with, even if it doesn't always go your way. So I think I could at least put her A tier, not S tier, A tier, but she's still very, very potent. Simon Bolivar, definitely not B tier. He did get his, I think he didn't get a movement nerf, but he got a nerf to his Comandante Generals, and they're not nearly as effective. But I still think the +1 movement bonus is pretty damn good. If you just look at Gran Colombia, their haciendas aren't as, that's the wrong Colombia. Though their haciendas are very, very desirable, even if they come at mercantilism, which isn't too late, but it's still not at the start of the game, so not as good as the other improvements or as relevant, but he's definitely A tier, in my opinion. I don't play with the Ottomans too much, but I think the Janissaries are their best unit, and the Barbary Corsair. For any of the Ottomans players out there who like to play as the Ottomans, please let me know if you think this ranking is good. Again, the militarist civs, I don't play as much, but I think A or B tier is okay. I know they're not as strong as some of the civs like Byzantium or Scythia, but it's okay so far. Greece, I would say Greece is definitely A tier, even with Gorgo, funnily enough, being put higher. She did receive some pretty good buffs. I probably could agree with A or B tier for her. But I think her Pericles is about on the same level as Gorgo with some of his unique Acropolis bonuses, since the Acropoli are very easy to get, and they just have very lenient placements. They're kind of like a Japanese culture or theater square, just for the Greeks, and it themes very well with his envoys and his city-state focus. Teo Warman, I would say, is about A or B tier. Not really too many complaints with him. He focuses on population. I got to try out him with my recent Let's Play, which you can watch on the channel. Just go to the playlist in the homepage. Not to just chill, but you can see my channel there with my experience. But so far, he's been a very, very consistent and good civ. I would say his relic changes have been unfortunate, but I still like the focus on very tall cities and kind of a minimalist play style in terms of being able to go tall and not be punished too severely. So I think this is about an accurate placement. Gilgamesh, I would say B is a fair placement, though if you go for your war carts and really maximize that, I definitely could see a more aggressive Gilgamesh being A tier, especially with going for a wider, more ziggurat-focused empire. Germany and the Inca, two of these guys should be automatically S tier. I could just say that outright. The Hansa, they even buffed the Hansa. They gave them even better river placements. And the Hansa is like, you don't even need to pay attention to any of Germany's other abilities aside from like the district cap bonus. The Hansa is just too easy to theme. You get 2 production from commercial hubs, super easy to place down, and they already have very easy gold bonuses to get to buy even more Hansas. +1 production from adjacent district tiles, that's default, and then +1 production from adjacent resources. That's not just like being specific to bonus resources, that's luxury resources too. So very, very easy to theme, and rivers are everywhere, plentiful across the map, and the increased river start bias just did him tons of favors. So he's definitely S, maybe even broken tier, with double adjacency bonuses for the industrial zones. And then the Inca, they are just insane. They buffed them even more. They gave additional housing to the terrace farm, and that was like just ridiculous. I did not like that at all, and it was just completely nonsensical, but I guess you win some, you lose some, and this is a very weird portrait picture, I might add. But I'm fine. I'd love to play them, even if they are a bit overpowered. Yeah, they buffed the Kapak non-improvement too, so overall, just a very, very, very good civ, and the preserves too is just what puts them over the top into ludicrous tier, since they can work mountains, which are almost always breathtaking. So I definitely put him S tier along with Germany. Mongolia, Kublai Khan, I'd say is fine with B tier. He didn't get any buffs recently, I don't believe, so probably about the same level as China Kublai Khan now. Norway, I'd say B or A tier is good. They have very, very good rating bonuses, which makes them a very unique civ. I recommend playing them if you haven't already, and they're just fun to exploit. Indonesia, I would say, is definitely A tier due to her Kampung bonuses. She did get a nerf right after her release with the October update all the way back in 2016. But I do love their tourism bonuses. So yeah, tourism from every food bonus, and it's very easy to get food if you at least know how to place down fishing boats. So A tier, and then some of her other abilities on top of that. I think they get adjacencies from coast, so they just love the sea. and one of those early naval civs that has always just been good. A tier for me. Though I guess I could see her being B tier, maybe B plus tier at the very least. We have Persia. I agree with the A tier. He still was very good even after the nerf. His surprise wars are very, very potent. I'm not too sure about the specifications of his nerf, but he's still very strong in my opinion. You have to take away like the surprise wars for him to be like at least C tier, but I think his Paradises are still potent, and the surprise war early rushes with the Immortals synergize very, very well. Alexander, I don't play him too much. He's like purely a domination civ. I think S or A tier is good just because of his EPOS piece. He gets like 3 unique units, which is pretty insane considering you can have like an entirely unique army composed entirely of his unit replacements, like with the EPOS piece, the Hey Dad Roy. Okay, it looks like it's 2 unique unit replacements, but still, they're very, very good, and do not underestimate them. And then he gets bonuses to capturing cities with wonders, I believe, too. He's just very, very potent. So next we have Trajan. I'd say he's at least B tier. I don't know if he's A tier. He's kind of standard in my opinion, and he's just a very good beginner civ with his early monuments. That's all I have to say about him. Very, very generic. Good for beginners. A tier is okay. Zhuao, I'd say, is A tier. I wouldn't put him as S tier. People have been very, very eager to say he's like the most broken civ in the game. But when you play maps, aside from Archipelago and like Island Plates, he's a much more calm and toned down civilization just because you have a lot less water to work with. And especially on Pangea maps, it can even be crippling. Though his mountainous coastal chart biases are very good for the navigation school, I wouldn't put him in S so readily as some of the other members of the community have. I think Montezuma as A tier is good. They buffed the Tlachli for whatever reason. They gave it like, I think, additional gold or culture. So I don't know why they did that. The people over at Firaxis, the developers, they do what they do. And my voice is kind of dying out, so I need to finish this quickly. Though I think A tier is a fair ranking. They can rush districts very well and very quickly with builders they capture. Very fun playstyle and unique. But next, this is a controversial pick. I definitely disagree with Teddy being A tier. He's probably one of the most broken civs in the game, along with John Curtin. So let me just see here. I think he still retains his abilities. He didn't get any nerfs whatsoever. And what makes him very, very powerful is his preserves. And that's base game Teddy. Okay, let's go to Bull Moose. So his preserves are, from the outset, very powerful. Breathtaking tiles, even without the preserves, gain +2 science. And they also gain +2 culture if they're adjacent to a wonder or woods. Just very, very, very nice buffs there all around. Very easy to theme. And if you get a wonder, he's just completely off the charts. I even streamed him. Ethiopia with Mini Leak, I would say, could be A tier. This isn't definitely isn't factoring in Secret Society, so I think they'd probably strongly rank him as S tier. He's very good, though. If you don't get good hill starts, he can kind of be a bit touchy, kind of similar to Lady Six Sky with her plantations. So the Rockhewn Church, very interesting. He has a faith-based economy, and he's not afraid to spam faith and trade routes to get there. Next, we have Matthias. Not sure on the Hungarian way to say that, but I think A tier is okay. They did nerf him very recently after Gathering Storm because he was a bit broken with how he could levy city-states. And with Himiko, though we are not factoring in Heroes and Legends or other game modes, he's even more insane. But I think that's A is a good place to put him. Maybe S tier if he has the good conditions on a good start. And then I think A tier is okay to place Nubia. Some of these higher tier rankings, I guess, are some of the civs people tend to play more, I've noticed. But they seem to be a lot more accurate. I'd probably place her in A tier. The nerf to the Tassadi Rush, I think it was from 50 to 30. I could probably even go with 25 and it'd still be fair. Was kind of a bit of a nerf. Definitely takes away her viability, but they did change the Nubian pyramids in exchange, gave them +1 faith, +1 food. So now they are up to scruff, +2 faith, +2 food. So very, very good. Since they can now terraform deserts a bit more effectively, even though it's not like Petra level terraforming. However, I still like Nubia's changes, and I think A tier is appropriate. I guess Qinshi Huang could be S tier. I don't think A tier is that accurate, especially with the Wonder Rushes he can do, since they tie very, very well into the Mandate of Heaven. he didn't really need any buffs, but they did buff him this patch for whatever reason, maybe to bring Kublai Khan up a bit more. Though I think they could probably have done a bit of a more interesting rework with trade routes. But whatever, maybe they didn't want to move him too far apart from Qin Shi Huang and isolate him even further from his own civs abilities. So kind of debatable. I don't play with him too much, but I think he could be S tier, especially with how he functions now with his new ability with Mandate of Heaven. Next we have Spain, A tier, B tier. Haven't played with him too much. I think A tier might be a bit too high with him, though he is very good now at spamming out settlers. With his new reworks, the increased district production is probably what you want to watch for, because he could get up a spaceport very easily in the late game on some kind of colony that he set up like by the Renaissance era. And his trade routes are also very good for setting up things. My only problem is that he's not very specialized, a very general civ, and his religion bonuses are still not too potent, because it's still going to be some time unless you get a very lucky start that you start really getting these faith bonuses from the colonies, and by then it's probably too late to found a religion, or at least get an early pantheon. Next we have Gorgo. I actually agree with the ranking for her. I kind of underestimated her in the Discord, but some people let me know, or informed me. I guess let me know is not grammatically correct there, but she basically gets with the new update +1 combat strength from each military policy card slotted, and I thought this was only for the military policy card slot, but apparently it's also for wild cards, which Greece automatically gets, just a flat out additional wild card policy slot. So she can technically get +2 combat strength from the offset, and that allows her to adapt very, very easily to any situation she faces. So very, very interesting, and I kind of approve of that change. And tracks very well with the wildcard policy slot, and I think I like her a lot better now. Victoria, I'd say she's B tier, A tier, maybe with the British Museum ability, though I didn't play with her too much back then. I think A tier is a bit too hesitant because her later ability, Workshop of the World, kicks in a bit late. Let me just check this real quick here, but I think it still kicks in all the way back at, what is it? Like at the industrial era. So once you get those things powered, it's still going to be like right at the end of the game. And I just like British Museum a lot better just because of how fun it was to collect relics and all that stuff. Much akin to history. Though the Royal Navy Dockyard is still a very powerful part of her kit. So maybe A tier, but I think B plus is a bit more accurate. But now we've kind of moved through this tier list quickly. My voice is a bit parched, but I'll try to finish this for you guys in one steady state. I do have to leave for work soon though. So let me just roll through this list. And so far, this has been a pretty bad tier list, though. I sound like I'm having fun, but I definitely disagree with a lot of these lower tier picks, like, dear God, Batriu, C tier. What are you guys smoking here? Anyhow, let me get to S tier. I've been agreeing with some of the later picks here, though, and I think I agree with a lot of these. John Curtin, definitely number 1 or number 2 in the game. I just want to get straight to him. He's like an Australian pimp. He does everything right. He does campuses. He does theater squares. He does coastal yields. And they even buffed him in the most recent patch. He even does terraforming. He can get insane outback stations just through the guilds. He comes all the way at guilds. It should be pushed back. But he can get these insane yields all the way in the medieval era. And he just does everything you want and more. If you want a campus, you got him. If you want a theater square, etc., anything. And he even gets increased production just in case you think of taking him down if he gets too out of control. So he's just amazing. Probably the number 1 or number 2 civ. Korea, I also think, is suitable for S tier. Should probably get on to Babylon, but he's very good at skipping techs. He could be A tier if he gets a crappy start, though. Since he does get Eurekas for free, I could probably, if I could change him, I'd nerf that to 90% for Eurekas. And then his model, that's probably the worst part about him because it looks like he's darker than someone from the Congo. I don't know. But they completely screwed up his model for whatever reason. It's just very, very, very atypical. But I don't know what it is with the devs over there at Firaxis. Anyhow, Korea with Sondu or Sundog. Not sure how her name is pronounced. But I think she got a buff in the recent patch. She did not need a buff. She needed a nerf because her science was already kind of ridiculous. And she gets additional science and culture on top of her already ridiculous +4 default Seowon, which could probably be nerfed to +3 just to be a bit more fair. But I think they made her Seowon's theme even better with adjacent districts or adjacent farms. So next we have the Gaul. But yeah, she's S tier, but we have the Gaul next. I think I'd put them A tier. The Gaizate, I think, theme a bit better with the men-at-arms now, but I'd still put them as A tier. Just because the Oppidum is very consistent. One of my favorite civs to play, along with America. But they're very consistent with their Oppidum, and just overall a very good generalist civ, and they can specialize very well into science or military, depending on the kind of playstyle, passive or aggressive, that you feel like going for. Scythia also has always been a very, very underrated civ in my experience, just because I consider the Saca Horse Archers to be one of the better units, and I think you can get them, 2 of them for like free basically, or 2 for the price of 1, because she gets a free like cavalry unit or Saca Horse Archer, basically once she builds one, which is very, very good for rushes. The Kurgan got a buff, that's okay, but purely on this ability alone, she could coast to A tier. But on top of that, she has the Saca Horse Archer, which themes very, very well for early rushes, and it's just very, very potent. You will always feel these breathing down your back when you're near her, because they are very, very threatening, especially on flat land, which she tends to specialize in. She's always been at least S or A tier, in my opinion, a very, very strong civ, and those that doubt her, clearly you haven't played next to her, like in flat terrain, because she's just extremely, extremely, extremely good. We have Basile S tier. I can agree with this. Just overall, I hate his design. I mentioned this before. Not his model, but just his design. Though he does look like Matthias with a beard, if you guys have noticed this. I don't think I have schizophrenia. I think there's clearly a reused model with Genghis's animations. But anyhow, his bonus is very consistent. Kind of like Russia, actually. I think his faith... I'm agreeing with all of the S tier picks. But I still disagree with a lot of these other picks. But I've noticed as they're going higher up, the tier list seems to be getting a bit better. I'm just speculating it's because these people play these civs more. Anyhow, I digress. Peter, I think you could move him to A tier with the recent nerfs. They did kind of nerf his Lavra, which doesn't spam the great artist points as much, I don't think. So, yeah. They changed that a bit. Actually, it changes with the upgrades, so you need to invest a lot more, and it's just harder to get great works as early, so not too big of a concern since you couldn't spend the artist immediately, but they did make for some very good scouts, which was a kind of a funny big brain move the AI used, and he synergizes well with the Tundra, though I don't know if A tier is too good. I guess he could easily be S or A tier depending on how good of a Tundra you got. But we have Coupe now, and I think I just flatly agree. He is S tier. Very, very good and very unique with his ocean start. He's very good at preserves. He does that a bit better than Teddy. And he's just very, very restrictive towards jungles and shopping. That's my only gripe I have with him. Lastly, I also agree with Hojo Tokimune, or Hojo Tokimune. I think that's correct. Very, very fun to play with his cities and kind of SimCity it. And I think that's it for the tier list. Though I guess his cultural factories are kind of a bit of a Debbie Downer. But anyhow, this is the entire Civ 6 tier list. I've gone through it in one setting. This is not my tier list by any means. I think I would have to shoot myself at the gate of the airport if I ever arrived to such a horrible haram tier list. But anyhow, the S and A tier picks are good. Below that, I think I'd burn the building to the ground if it ever hosted such a horrible ranking of civs. Though I guess it's not as bad as I thought it would be, though some of these are not forgivable, like Batriu and Magnificence Catherine at S tier, or D tier, not S tier, D tier, especially Mbemba at F tier. God, you people. Degenerates. Anyhow, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to join my Discord and talk more about this stuff, feel free to pop right in. I have a link in the description. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. And leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video as always. But this has been Civ Extraordinaire. And if you have any video suggestions, let me know in the comments section or the Discord. But again, thank you guys so much. Love you guys. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. Peace.